I yield back.
Thank you, Ms. Scanlon. I recognize Ms. Spartz from Indiana for questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. It's my honor to be here with fellow farmers. I said I've been involved in a lot of businesses, but this is one of the toughest ones when you depend on government and God. So I appreciate being here, also my fellow Hoosier. We've seen that food security is also national security issues, especially during COVID times, and we see what the power oligopolies have right now in many parts of the market, but including food processing. We're creating oligarchs, cartels, and with some actually child labor issues, including the state of Indiana, which raises very significant concerns. So I appreciate Mr. Chairman having this hearing. And before I came here, since I'm not involved in livestock, I do soybean farming, I actually met with farmers in my district, to get their input. And I wanted to run something by you. I think, Prime Act, it's a great legislation. I'm surprised that we're even dealing with intrastate commerce. I don't know how Congress gets involved into everything, but just one issue they brought up to me was interstate commerce too, where they say we have this one-size-fits-all approach where federal government, centralizing a lot of regulations, but states and businesses have liabilities. If you're not going to follow good, safety laws, you will not be in business for very long. The same states, they have agriculture as a big part of GDP of states. They have an interest, to have good production and good standards, but, there is some flexibility, and like some regulations, Indiana Department of Environmental Management has quite more stringent even the federal government, so you actually can apply to local markets. So one thing that they brought up, to give more flexibilities for states to do inspection with also state inspectors, not maybe this large, huge processes would be dealing, with, just USDA inspectors, but states can develop, standards within the state to deal with smaller processes where would be more competition, and bring, ability for actually this mid-sized companies to survive because they cannot hire expensive attorneys and scientists and everything else, but they might not need it because they don't have that large type of mechanic processes that maybe some other ones. So I think, Mr. Trott, I wanted, since you are representing organization of state legislators, I used to be a member of, and actually got an Iron Lady award from them, but I wanted to get your thoughts on actually maybe doing more flexibility in the Farm Bill for states to have ability to do these inspections for interstate commerce too.
Yeah, so for commerce within a state, it's an intrastate commerce question, not an interstate commerce question. The federal government definitely has jurisdiction on interstate commerce, but at the end of the day, this is a federalism question. Does the authority lie with the federal government or does it lie with the state government? And if we're talking about commerce within its own borders, inspection within its own borders for things that only stay in their own borders, that's clearly a state authority that's been subsumed by the federal government. And it's something that Congress has the ability to go ahead and delegate back to the states, and it's
certainly not asking about delegated back, but what about interstate commerce, to have more flexibility for in-state inspectors also to do some inspection maybe for smaller plants, for interstate commerce also, because we don't have to regulate everything and we can set baseline, but we don't have to one-size-fits-all approaches because states are so unique in agriculture.
Yeah, states are the laboratories of democracy. We have 50 different opportunities in this great nation to go ahead and figure out what works, but you have to enable states to be able to do this without doing a one-size-fits-all. And right now, what we have is a one-size-fits-all system, the same thing that goes through these vertically integrated multinational conglomerates, as what happens with the small producers that are here at the table with me.
Maybe Mr. Saladin, if you can briefly, each of our presenters, just get your thoughts on that too. Mr. Saladin?
Yeah, so the germination tray for innovation is embryonic prototypes. You cannot have solutions to problems without prototype innovation. You don't start big, you start small. And so one of the problems we have right now is that with this overarching federal domination of state choice, all right, if a state, for example, Maine, when they did their food sovereignty law, they said in Maine, If a farmer and a consumer want to work together, we're not going to get a bureaucrat involved. That's fine. Somebody at church, you want to sell, we're not going to get involved. As soon as they passed the law, here came federal in and said, if you do that, we're going to withdraw all inspection from the state. Maine won't be able to sell anything to anybody out of the state. And so immediately Maine caved and it was gone. So this body right here has the chance to offer innovative experimentation opportunities for our 50-state experiment. We hear safety. Well, people are going to get sick if we have uninspected food. We don't know that. Maybe they'll actually be able to afford better food. It'll be more available, and their food system will be more secure. But until this body grants freedom to try, to create a germination tray of innovative ideology, we don't know if we'd have more people, or maybe we'd have healthier people because they wouldn't be condemned to the oligarchy. Maybe that would be the outcome.
Thank you. I think my time has expired. I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Spartz. I now recognize Mr. Ivey for his questions.